text.
Yeah,
and then we'll get into more of how
so there's a lot going on in food right now. I mean, it's always an interesting space, but it seems exceptionally busy, if you like. So the movement, I think people are still trying to figure out to what extent it is a movement, but because we're seeing all this like legislation at state level, it kind of leads to makes me think that there is something going on with the public, that it has made a resonance. Certainly the movement, there's a lot of criticism because some of it is accepted wisdom, others is a bit more out there, and so things like seed oils, the fact that he labels sugar as poison and stuff is clearly not mainstream stuff. But I think it's something we have to keep an eye on and observe, because in the past we've seen food policy really like just coming out of DC. It's very like written by bureaucrats and top down. But what we're seeing now is really a movement within the states and a growing resonance. And also, the fact that this has been led by a party that isn't usually associated with food as medicine.
Right.
And so certainly we've got to keep our eyes open for it, and ears.
Yeah, and this is all going on as well as while the dietary guidelines are being hashed out, and the chicken industry concern at least at this point about animal protein's place within those priorities.
Yeah.
So there's a lot going on. If you combine the MAHA movement with those conversations, what would your, I guess, advice be to poultry processors trying to kind of figure out their place in all of this?
Yeah. So I think it's a case of making the arguments that are going to resonate, and possibly looking at the language that politicians are using now around food as medicine, which is different. The way they're framing it, it's around personal choices, and it's not so patronizing, if that's the right word. So it's what can you do, and recognizing that certainly the MAHA movement is around systems change, and so it is a bit scary in the sense that a lot of things are up for grabs. But if you make your point about the validity of what you're doing, then I think it should reap benefits. I mean, there was a concern yesterday about to what extent ultra-processed foods would turn up in the dietary guidelines, because the scientific committee that advises the dietary guidelines didn't take a view, but we know that Kennedy's going to discount what the scientific committee said. We know that Kennedy has been highly negative of ultra-processed foods, and so it is an opportunity perhaps for companies to reflect on their ingredients list and how they choose to manufacture their value-added chicken products, and say, well, what can we do to simplify this process so that it doesn't fall on the wrong side of a definition? Because no one is against processed food. It's a concern around the very highly processed foods, which has a very high causality rate, correlation, not causality, with poor health outcomes.
And there's probably different stakeholders have different definitions of ultra processed, right?
Yeah, well, there is a classification, but it was never designed to be like an algorithm for filtering at the supermarket. And so where the line divides, regular, minimally processed or processed to ultra processed, is kind of up for grabs. And so that really is the opportunity for food companies to make sure that they are working towards a more minimally processed product, as opposed to something which has a bucket load of ingredients, which might not necessarily need to be there anymore.